Now beginning transmission 142. Death of the family. File under family drama.
Come on, you fuckers think that just because a guy reads comics he can't start some shit? I'll fucking take all you want!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Funny Books and Firewater podcast.
面白い本と歌手ポッドキャストの今週のエピソードへようこそ。
Ignore her. She drinks.
Each week a motley band of comic readers / amateur bartenders attempt to pair cocktails with comic books.
毎週漫画の読者の雑多なバンドはスラッシュアマチュア入札しようと漫画とペアカクテルバーです。
All while trying to not sound like complete morons in the
すべ
process.
ての中にしようとして音ではないような完了プロセスで低能です。
Kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
You can find these idiots on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr.
Facebook、Twitter、Instagram や Tumblr にこれらのバカを検索できます。
No, what?
You read too many comic books.
We now join Brian, Jeremiah, Adam, and Todd.
They're used to curious sights which they attribute to alcoholic delusions.
They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
I'm too sober for this shit. Here is a drinking game to play while you listen to this episode. Please drink responsibly, and don't take it too seriously. And if you don't like it, blame William.
Take a drink anytime Mr. Porg decides to interject himself into the conversation. Shut up, Porg.
You need to take a drink anytime Manny Bothhands makes an appearance, and I get groans and fuck yous from Adam and Maya.
Fuck Manny Bothhands!
Manny Bothhands is pure genius. Take a drink anytime someone refers to me as the cum dumpster.
Take a drink every time the Shame Bell makes an appearance.
Shame!
Also, take a drink anytime we act like the member berries from South Park. Remember when they were on South Park?
I remember.
Yeah, and take a drink every time we do the bad German accent, yeah.
Drink, fucker!
If you have any suggestions for rules you would like to add, email us at funnybooksandfirewater@gmail.com or use the contact link on our website, funnybooksandfirewater.com.
Hey, and welcome to episode 142 of the Funny Books and Firewater podcast. This week we are finishing up our month of family drama, just in time for Christmas. And we are doing this with Death of the Family, the Batman book by not Rob Snyder. I don't know why I said Rob Snyder. Scott Snyder. Wow. That would have been a very different book. Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, and Jonathan Glapion, something like that.
And James Tynion the Fourth. He wrote the backups.
Oh, did he write the backups?
Yeah.
Well, some of them. Some of them are...
No, he wrote all the backup stories. So, like, where the story actually ends in each issue and there's an extra, like, 4 or 5 page story, that's all James Tynion.
Well, some of mine are credited as Scott Snyder. In my book.
He came up with the story, but James Tynion scripted it.
Okay. Anyway, well, we'll get into that.
Panel intro.
So, matter of business, or jumping into introductions, everyone is here. Who you've also heard his lovely, sultry voice. He's already here, Mr. Maya.
Hello. It's Maya.
I was like, are you going to intro after that?
No,
hello.
No, I'm good.
You're good? Just hello.
If you don't know who he is by now, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Mr. Maya or Instagram at the Mr. Maya, or you can follow my cat on either at It's the Jonesy.
And then, of course, the CD himself. We have Mr. It's not CDA. I have to make sure I leave the A out. We have Mr. Adam.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Adam. I do stuff with Big Shiny Robot. Occasionally stuff with the Bored as Hell podcast with Andy Wilson.
Hi, Andy.
Also over at Cinema Queens with our good friend Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. I'm curating our Grinder Scruff and Tights with the Z account. And as we record this, I am running towards the end of screener season, which I'm way far behind on. Yesterday alone, I got 19 movies from Netflix.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've got 4 more packages coming today, so all of us are kind of panicking a little bit. So,
wait, so Netflix sends you screeners?
Yeah, so to be eligible for like awards and stuff, they just have to play it like a theater once. So they'll send us stuff that's not out yet. So, for instance, the Mowgli movie, it's coming out later this week or next week, but they sent me a DVD of it just so I can watch it, which it doesn't matter because Into the Spider-Verse is going to win all the awards. Actually, I'll do a brief review of that too at the end if you want.
Okay.
But yeah, I just got a ton of stuff I got to watch, and I've got a week to do it, so we're all panicking a bit.
Okay.
Oh, also, by the way, our last episode of Cinema Queens, I talked about the many Bothans died for our sins, and at least we're not Cinema Queens.
Uh-huh.
And if we make shirts, he definitely wants to order one. So
okay, which one? The many Bothan died for our sins, or at least we're not Cinema Queens? Or maybe we make them all as one shirt.
At least we're not Cinema Queens. Although he said he and Clark were saying what we should do is make a shirt that says, well, we are Cinema Queens, and on the back says something about microwave come.
And sell them at Pride.
Yeah, there we go.
And Mr. Todd is not joining us this week. He seems to think that it's a better idea to be hanging out with his wife while she is in labor as we speak right now.
Oh, is she in labor right now?
She's still in labor right now. Well, I mean, they're still trying to induce. I've been very hands off as far as text messages go. I sent him a text message last night. I got a response this morning saying still waiting, and I went, okay, I'm just going to leave it at that because normally Todd's pretty good about getting back to me. He obviously didn't get back to me for a while.
Well, we can tell he's just not dedicated enough because if he really was, he'd just be there with his phone and he'd be calling in.
Well, I did send him the link to log in if he really wanted to.
I thought we were going to set up in the room while it was happening. And then we just go, hi, Amy.
Fuck you all.
Maybe for Todd's second child, but I don't think they're going to let us do it for the first. So
have they picked a name yet? Because I know they were still thinking.
I don't know. So Todd loves torturing his family and his friends, and so he has been making up horrible names and telling people that's what he's going to name the child just to watch them cringe and freak out. And I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's also a wise decision not to tell people what you're going to name the kid because then you're going to get all sorts of opinions before you actually make it. Just fucking name the kid and don't tell anybody anything. So I don't know. The last time I talked to them, they were seriously considering a name I'd given them, which I thought was pretty awesome. But we'll see what ends up happening. So anyway. Oh, and hey, I'm Brian. I'm a sound designer based out of Southern California. And I was just telling you guys, I will actually be in Utah speaking at a theater conference. I'm not exactly sure which day. I know. Well, no. So I'm coming out to see Todd and the baby and then record some live episodes with you guys. And I happen to, I get a text message the day that I booked all that saying, hey, if I pitch this panel for the Utah Theater Association, would you be willing to Skype in and do this? And I said, what days are they? And it happened to be the days that I was going to be there. And I said, why don't I just come in and do it live? I'll come in for an hour and just do that. So
I'll do it live.
Fuck it, I'll do it live. Yeah, I can't say that to these poor kids. So I'll be trying to warn high schoolers about a career in theater, I guess, or something. I don't know. Promoting it, I guess, to a certain extent. But anyway, that's aside from the point. So, yeah.
Book intro.
This is actually volume 3 of Scott Snyder's run in the Batman universe. I'm trying to think what else. What needs to be known before this? What happens in the world?
Just when the New 52 happened in the other Batman book, Detective Comics, the Joker escaped prison and cut off his face and left it pinned up on the wall.
Like you do.
Yeah, he had the doll maker help him do that, and he left it in Arkham, and then he disappeared. And he makes a slight appearance overlooking Gotham City Police Building in Detective Comics number 12. I have the Wikipedia up in front of me. I'm not that clever. And the story also represents events depicted in Batman: The Killing Joke, Batman: The Man Who Laughs, and Batman: Death in the Family. We are reading Death of the Family. That got a little confusing even in our discussions of trying to figure out what we were going to actually be doing.
Myification.
Well, so since he's not here, Mr. Maya, do you want to actually give us a myification of this?
Batman?
I would say horror as well. This one I actually think justifiably classifies as horror. If they were to make this into a film, it would be it would be a Saw movie, man. It would be there's a lot of death and a lot of creepiness, and this is probably one of the more horrific of Batman books in my opinion.
Yeah. What was interesting was when I realized we told me we didn't do this. Brian Young from Big Shiny Robot, he actually is old friends with Scott Snyder, and so he interviewed him about Death of the Family, and this was years and years ago, where I was doing a lot of transcriptions for people when they did interviews. So I did the whole transcription with it, and he published a story about it, and I've been looking everywhere trying to find it, but right now I can't. If I can find it while we're recording, I'll put some snippets of what Scott Snyder was looking to do with this story, but as of right now, I can't find it.
Okay.
Drinking game.
Mr. Maya, what is your drinking game for this week?
My drinking game is called The Joke's on You, and that's actually directed towards our listeners because it is every time the Joker laughs, take a drink, fuckers.
You are a mean person. Okay, mine is called The Name Game, which is take a drink whenever a member of the Bat family is mentioned. This also includes Alfred and Commissioner Gordon, just for those of you who want to keep track of all that. Not quite as mean as Maya's, but pretty mean. And Mr. Adam.
Mine is called Sweet Nothings. So whenever the Joker refers to Batman as something other than Batman, so like
darling
or bats or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Validity votes.
So then let's jump into votes as to whether or not we feel like it is worth our dear listeners' hard-earned time, money, and effort to read this book and hunt it down. It's not hard to hunt down. It only came out a few years ago. So, and it's only the only thing that's weird about it is it's a volume 3. So for those of you who are completionists, you're going to want to have 1 and 2, which is the Court of Owls saga, which is good stuff anyway. So that's fine, I guess. So what are your votes, Mr. Adam?
Yes.
Mr. Maya?
Absolutely less. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Absolutely yes, along with all of Scott Snyder's Batman run.
I will say yes to this, but I will disagree with you on some of Scott Snyder's run, but that's a totally different issue.
Playlist.
Then let's jump into playlists as to what songs we feel like we could play on this. I added a last-minute one that I haven't told you guys about. So I will start with my first one. I'm doing It's a Family Affair by Mary J. Blige, just because I'm kicking it old school today. Also kicking it old school, Mr. Maya.
Yeah, I went with Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads.
More old school than either of us, I think. Mr. Adam.
Institutionalized by Suicidal Tendencies.
And just because I want you to have these two songs back-to-back in a playlist, with Institutionalized, I want you to put in Drive Me Crazy by Britney Spears.
Also, I just found the interview, so I will find any interesting tidbits that I can throw in.
Cool, that sounds good.
Final warnings.
Do we have any final warnings we want to give to people before we go into this book, into spoiler territory? We are breezing through this without Todd to distract us.
Yeah, just what we already said, this is a very mature, very twisted, very disgusting arc. I mean, it's the Joker as most jokeriest that I think I've seen in a long time, but it's definitely messed up.
It's the Joker as a horror villain for sure, you know. Unfortunately, I was looking to see if my trade had like a teen rating or a whatever,
in the individual issues they would have been rated like T+ or T.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I'm not seeing that on here, but I was looking for that to see if there was a guiding factor on there somewhere. But no, unfortunately, there is nothing there to help you out. So you've been warned. I mean, it's very good. It's just dark and creepy and gritty and kind of fucked up in a fucked up kind of way. But if you're listening to this show and listening to us, you're probably okay with something a little bit fucked up. So, and you're probably okay with Batman. So that's how it goes. Anything else?
No, I think that's about it. This might be a short episode.
It might be. Which is weird because normally we do short episodes. Well, short episodes are either on books that we hate and don't want to talk about, or actually no, it's long episodes or books we hate because we sort of stall in trying to get to what we're trying to talk about and all that kind of stuff. But so this week, maybe we'll actually. I have an idea. I will rush through the summary really quickly, and then we will get right into the discussion of the book. How does that sound?
Perfect.
So, yeah. So we'll do that very quickly. We'll try to get through a summary really fast, and then get into the analysis as quickly as possible, so we can chat about this book because I think that's what everyone's chomping at the bit to do a little bit. So, yeah, we will see you on the flip side.
If you have yet to read this week's book and would like to read it now, press pause. Go ahead. We'll wait.
Now, sissy that wow. Hey there! Are you queer or some variation of it? Well, I'm Chris, and this is my co-host,
Adam. And welcome to Cinema Queens, where we talk about queer cinema.
Each week, we watch beloved queer classics, discuss them, review them,
and cover a whole cluster of topics from our favorite scenes,
what they mean to us,
how it relates to our current world,
and the best part, the cherry on top of the sundae, happens to be
gay rants.
So prepare your ear holes
and listen to us Queens talk cinema. New episodes drop every Monday on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Bye-bye.
So I have this off of Wikipedia, so this will hopefully get us through the
plot summary
pretty quickly. So, Joker marks his return to Gotham City by attacking GCPD and recovering his preserved face, killing 19 police officers in the process. He later televises a warning via the son of the first recorded victim that Mayor Hardy will die that night, referencing another of his earliest crimes. However, the police assigned to protect Hardy are killed in a combination of chemicals while Hardy survives. Batman analyzes the chemical compound and finds that there's an inert ingredient whose initial spell out ACE, as in Ace Chemicals, which lead him to the Ace Chemical plants. He encounters a person dressed as a Red Hood, one of Joker's aliases, and is struck by an oversized mallet that pushes him into an empty chemical vat. The Red Hood reveals herself to be Harley Quinn and warns Batman the Joker is not the same. Batman manages to escape the vat before it can fill with chemicals. Elsewhere, the Joker attacks Alfred Pennyworth. Each issue of Batman also contains a backup story in Batman 13. The story sees Joker preparing Harley to meet Batman at the chemical plant. Then, after Batman returns home and learns Alfred's kidnapping, the clues lead him to believe that Commissioner Gordon is the Joker's next target. Batman saves Gordon after Joker poisons him with a powerful blood thinner. He then goes to the Gotham Reservoir, the place where he first faced off with the Joker. The villain reveals that he has already reenacted his earlier crimes, killing several people, blowing up the reservoir, injuring Nightwing. The Joker immobilizes Batman and states his plan to kill each of the Bat's aliases, believing him to have made Batman weak. Joker claims to know the true identities. In the backup story, the Joker invites Penguin to an event that is orchestrated at Arkham Asylum. Batman frees himself and attacks the Joker, but is paralyzed by the Joker's venom, allowing the Joker to escape. Batman is recovered by the Bat family and taken to the Batcave, where he confesses that after an earlier battle with the Joker, he discovered a Joker playing card in the Batcave. He dismisses the idea that Joker has found the cave, and the family fears that Joker knows their identities and blames Batman for concealing such a possibility. Later, Batman interrogates an Arkham guard who admits that Joker is waiting for him in the asylum. As he ventures into the asylum, his internal dialogue reveals that the movements he had previously seen in the Joker's eyes when they met indicated love. In the backstory, Joker is shown having taken over the asylum, meeting up with an institutionalized Riddler. Batman encounters Mr. Freeze, Scarecrow, and Clayface. Batman finds Joker with Two-Face, Riddler, the Penguin, but before he can stop them, Joker shows him a video of Nightwing, Robin, Red Hood, Batgirl, and Red Robin. Joker orders Batman to take his place in his throne and electric chair to spare their lives. Batman does so, receiving an electric shock. In the backup story, Two-Face demands to be included in Batman's death, but Joker traps him behind bars alongside of the Penguin and the Riddler. Joker hosts a mock dinner in the caves leading to the Batcave. Batman and his aliases have been bound, doused with gasoline. The Joker is warning against escaping at the risk of agitating the flint in the cave. Everyone in the Bat family, save for Batman, has also been bandaged, and a brainwashed Alfred serves them a cloche, which is like those covers with the food, seemingly containing their own severed faces. When Joker threatens to ignite the gasoline, Batman escapes, triggering a blaze, but uses explosives and his knowledge of the cave system to blow out, open the roof, and the rush of water comes down to douse the flames. When he flees, others take their bandages off, revealing that the faces they still have their faces. Batman pursues the Joker to the edge of a large drop. Batman claims that he knows the Joker's true identity. As Batman threatens to whisper it in his ear, Joker jumps over the edge and falls out of sight. His face separated from him, Batman finds the notebook, which Joker claimed held the secret identities of the Bat family, but he discovers it's blank. Meanwhile, the Bat family are gassed into attacking each other, but manage to fight off the gas's influence. Later in Wayne Manor, Batman tells a recovering Alfred that after finding the Joker playing card in the cave, he confronted Joker about it in Arkham Asylum as Bruce Wayne. Joker failed to acknowledge him as Batman, realizing he did not care who Batman was under the mask. Members of the Bat family declined to meet with Batman. Later, Batman studies the chemical makeup the Joker used, of the gas the Joker used on the Bat family, and finds it to have an inert isotope with the chemical compound HA, as in ha. DOS, but yeah, so that's the big Spark Notes version of what goes on in this.
Analysis.
Mr. Maya, I know you're a fan of Scott Snyder's writing, so why don't you start us off there?
Okay, no, I really enjoyed this. I like the Court of Owls stuff before this, but it wasn't until this story that I really was like, okay, this guy's onto something when he was writing Batman. And it kind of boils down to, at least when it comes to the family drama aspect, just kind of boils down to don't keep secrets. That's essentially what drove, because at the end of this we see, no one wants to talk to Bruce, no one wants to help him. They're all kind of doing their own thing because they're all hurt. And it just kind of drove the Bat family apart. Even though, at least from my understanding or from what it appears, Bruce was right. The Joker didn't know anything.
Yeah.
But he should have still told them, like, hey, he might know who you are, like, be careful. But Bruce being Bruce decided to not tell anyone.
Yeah, he was being the strong silent type to a negative degree, and sort of, I mean, because he always kind of flows on his own as well. Like the whole Bat family thing, like I kind of get it, but it's also like, and Todd I know is a huge Batman fan, so he can probably talk about all the different Bat family aspects, but he always seems to be alone, and then this sets him up to be sort of a lone wolf for a lot of the rest of Snyder's run anyway.
Yeah, and it was like, I think it was right after this is when they briefly killed off Damian for a while. So he really was alone, because everyone else had their own books. So, you know, Jason had Red Hood and the Outlaws, Batgirl had her own book, Nightwing had his own book. So, you know, this whole scenario, on top of losing Damian right after this, kind of drove Batman to being very, very much alone.
Mr. Adam, we sort of interrupted you for a second.
No, it's fine. Well, I mean, I think we actually, you know, speaking of Batman kind of always doing his own thing, kind of his lone wolf, wasn't it back in War Games, actually, where we made a drinking game out of it, where every time Batman says, no, I'll do it myself, don't worry.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, that was pretty much the entire thing of like, oh, no, I got this. I got this.
That's like the... What always causes drama in the Bat family is Bruce's inability to let others in or help others or include others in the problems.
Yeah, it seems to be Batman's biggest weakness is actually opening up to other people, you know?
Oh, he should probably see a therapist then.
He should.
He should see a therapist for a lot of reasons.
There's a lot of reasons he should see a therapist, yes, for sure.
Yeah, so I remember I read this in single issues when it came out, because I was, you know, that's when I had a hole with a million comics in it. And I remember getting to the end and kind of feeling like it was anticlimactic, but reading it again this time, I think it kind of connected better, and it was also a better story to read all at once than trying to, you know, remember what happened from month to month.
I originally read it month to month, and there's very much... This is one of those that does read better in the trade.
Yeah. And so the Joker's always been my favorite villain in DC, and maybe even Marvel. I mean, it's his dichotomy between him and Batman. Always just they play off each other so well as being the perfect foil for Batman, and the fact that, you know, Batman won't kill him because he's afraid of, you know, he kills one, he'll keep killing. Whereas the Joker's like, no, he's like, I don't think it's one that you think it's you would like this because and I love the whole thing with family. Like, yeah, you've got the Bat family, but they're holding you back because your fear and love for them is what's keeping you from really exceeding. And I'm your real family because I'm the one who understands you and keeps it going. And by not killing me, you're letting me win. And like, it was just, you know, and a little bit when I found the interview with Scott Snyder, we talks a little bit about the horror aspect of this book. Is as much fucked up stuff has happened. Like, you know, like the Joker sends a horse on fire over towards Batman, and like does all kinds of fucked up things. In
the span of about 4 pages, it really wasn't good for like 2 horses, because then Mr. Freeze froze the one that he was riding up the stairs and like shattered its head off.
So as much fucked up and horrible things happen, it's all about the way that the Joker gets into Batman's head and just fucks with him that way. Because but Batman may be keeping things from the Bat family. He is doing it out of a sense of, you know, of keeping them alive and keeping them safe. But as we said before, that always seems to kind of backfire and bites him in the ass. And it's something I don't think he's ever really learned and may never learn.
He always has the best intentions of doing what's right for them, but it's what's wrong for everyone.
It's wrong for everyone. But I can kind of see where it's coming from, too, because that's always been my thing. Like, I've always, you know, been the one who's like, I can suffer the slings and arrows of life as long as we'll protect those around me. But in the long run, that's not always good for them, because you may be stunting their growth or keeping them from helping you out. And for me, I don't think it was so much a pride issue of letting people help me, but I've always done it myself. And so now that I'm in a position where I do need some help with certain things, it's really a foreign concept to have people offer or do that, because I'm just uncomfortable with it because I don't know how to accept that. And I definitely saw a lot of myself in the way he was treating the Bat family, because it is humbling to ask for or receive help. And, you know, knowing the Bruce Wayne of who he is and where he came from, he's been on his own his whole life except for Alfred.
Yep.
So.
Well, and it's interesting, too, that the first person that the Joker takes out is the person that Batman has relied on the entire time. You know what I mean? And it's the only person that Batman's relied on. He makes
father,
reference.
Essentially.
It is essentially his father, and he makes reference to how quiet and lonely it is on the road. Like, because you think about Batman being alone all the time, and then you realize, like, when he's doing those long drives between Gotham and back to the manor and all that kind of stuff, he's talking to Alfred. And so I think that's part of what really throws him off, is that the only person he's really truly trusted is taken. I don't remember where it was. Oh, but like I just think it's like that's part of what throws Bruce Wayne off in the very beginning is the fact that his father figure and the only person he really trusts is gone already. You know what I mean? And he's had some trust in everybody else, and it might be just one of those things of like his automatic reaction always seems to be, if I've trusted them and they've gotten hurt, then they're in danger, so I can't trust them anymore. And so I think that has something to do with why he acts. I mean, he always acts this way, but a little bit more into why he's acting the way he is in this particular book. This idea of cutting off the fucking face and then putting it back on, I think is both a brilliant and disgustingly disturbing move. I actually was I was with my friend Jason. We were at LA Comic-Con, and Greg Capullo was doing a little bit of a spotlight interview, and they talked about how over the course of these issues, going well beyond this, the face starts to deteriorate and has bugs and all sorts of stuff, and how much he kind of loved doing that. But I think that art and that face really adds to the horror aspect of it.
Well, and I had kind of forgotten just kind of the look of it, because I thought he had actually like pinned it back onto his face, but it was on he had attached it to a strap and was wearing it like a mask.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is sort of adds to the creepiness factor to it as well. You know what I mean? I guess the other interesting thing is that the Joker, some of his tortures or his threatening of tortures are things that he has done to himself. You know what I mean?
Is your cat playing with something?
Okay. Yes, she is.
I didn't know if that was your cat or my cat.
No, it's my cat. She just found a button, and she's been like chasing this button all over the place. And I was like trying to subtly like put my copy of my graphic novel over the top of the button before she could get to it, and still talk at the same time, and it didn't work at all. So
Bob Dole did not age well.
So Batman.
Back to Batman. So I just want to get people's takes on the ideas of like some of these tortures and these things that like the Joker jokes at doing these, or not jokes, but he claims to do all these horrible, hideous things, including one of the worst is claims to have cut the faces off the entire Bat family, which is something that he did to himself. So it's just sort of interesting that the Joker sees doing one thing to himself is okay, but somehow has restraint not to do it to somebody else.
I remember the very first time I read this, and I got to that scene, I was like, oh fuck, did he really do that?
Yeah.
Oh shit. And I was relieved to see that, because I was like, how are they going
to fix that?
Well, I mean, they're superheroes. They got, medical technology at the Watchtower. They can reattach their faces as long as the faces are still intact. And then come to find out it was just all a head fuck. And I just remember that really kind of fucking with me and causing me a little bit of anxiety while reading it the first time.
But I do think that would be an amazing horror movie element. You know what I mean? Like, that scene in the caves would be a pretty fucking epic finale for a film, you know? Mr. Adam, Maya and I have talked majority of this. What are your thoughts?
So, again, it just goes back to the psychological aspect of, getting more into the Joker's psyche. The story is that, he's the one who corrupted Harley Quinn because she was his doctor, and then he's fucked with her head. I remember a long time ago there was a novelization of I think it might have been an original Batman story, but Eddie was reading it, and there's a paragraph where he's at Arkham, and he's with this like medical student, and the student asks the Joker to tell her about his hopes and dreams. It's like the student went home and committed suicide that night. I mean, we, as much as we've seen the Joker do fucked up things, most people, the worst one they can picture is like the Heath Ledger Joker from The Dark Knight. They don't really see him as a psychotic madman that he is, and even in the comics, you don't always get that. As this is full bore as you get it here. I mean, this is after he'd been gone for a year because we hadn't seen him since he cut his face off in Detective Comics, and it just jumped into that madhouse and went with it. And I love the part where he's when he's fucking around with like the Penguin, Riddler, and Two-Face, and he just destroys Two-Face. Two-Face took his coin and went home. There was nothing left of that, and it was just interesting to see you guys as smart as the Riddler is, as cunning as the Penguin is, and as ruthless as Two-Face are. They're really 2-bit villains in comparison to the Joker and what he can do. That being said, they're generally more successful at what they do because they're going after personal gain or this and that. Whereas the Joker I think the best thing to say is he just wants to see the world burn. And
he's the living embodiment of chaos.
Yeah.
He is, and I feel like Heath Ledger's Joker is damn near endearing and cuddly compared to this one.
Oh yeah, there's even Killing Joke Joker is nice compared to this.
Yeah, This one is just sort of like, I'm just going to fuck with you, and I'm going to fuck with you as much as I possibly can. Like, but the thing that's scary about him is that, like, and I think there's an interesting conversation that Commissioner Gordon and Batman have at one point in time, where Commissioner Gordon says something to the effect, is early on in the book, where normally what goes on with these supervillains is a general detective or a decent detective can kind of figure out what the next step is going to be. But the Joker is so random, you can't trace him. And like even Batman thinks he knows what his next step is. He sees like, oh, he's redoing his original crimes. So he thinks he's going to go and stop him, but he's already committed the crimes. He's like already 1 or 2 steps ahead of Batman at that point.
Well, the one thing, like having the guys in the trees that shot him when they were on the
bridge.
On the bridge.
Well, and the one thing I didn't catch the first time that I did this time around was the one thing that I think sticks out to everyone is that living tapestry, where they sewed all those people together, put tubes in their stomachs so they could live, and then had, the scenes like Death in the Family and, these iconic moments between Batman and Joker. And then at the end, all the people whose lives are like saying like, hail to the king or hail to the Joker, or was it whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I didn't catch it the first time I read it, but that was like, oh shit, these people willingly did that. Like, this is something they chose to do to help them out. And like, yes, you're in Arkham and you've got crazy people there, but that fucked with me a little bit more because the first time I saw it, I just didn't catch that and thought they were just dead. Just like, holy shit, like just to be that messed up that you would allow yourself to be mutilated in such a horrible way that really just grossed me out and gave me the willies.
Well, and in the first issue, in the backup story, I think the first real indication that we were dealing with a completely different Joker was Harley saying, he's not my Mr. J. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, stop him.
Yeah, he's a different person than he used to be. There's something messed up and gone wrong.
Actually, the one thing so this interview that Brian Young did with Scott Snyder, there's an interesting thing he was saying that when Greg drew the human tapestry, that when Scott was writing the dialogue, he actually had to have a couple extra Batman saying "my God" a couple times so he could cover up some of the things on the tapestry because it was too graphic. I was like, what could be worse? But the one thing I really liked is that Brian says, it doesn't feel like you're pulling any punches. And so Scott Snyder said, well, we're trying really hard to make it pure horror. And for me, pure horror really isn't gory or grotesque or shocking so much that it's stuff that is psychologically and emotionally terrifying. So the horror of a scene like the tapestry scene, for me at least, the grotesquerie of the bodies. I mean, that's definitely horrible, but the fact that these people are willing participants somehow in this horrifying plan the Joker has and have sort of mutilated themselves in service of his plan, and that sort of crazy devotion in this madhouse he has created, in the sense of this being a castle where everywhere you look is something that reflects upon you and your history with the Joker, in a way that's both, in the Joker's mind, a celebration, and in your mind, an accusation of failure. That's the sort of horror we're getting onto the page. So, again, it was a huge mental mindfuck for Batman because, he's being faced left and right with every single thing that he's done wrong and failed his family and Gotham and the world kind of because he's let this madman live, and he's faced with an impossible choice of letting the Joker win or killing him, which in the end would let the Joker win as well. And I also loved at the end that the way he made the Joker leap off that ledge was he just pulled his own trick on himself, where he's like, well, I know who you are, and goes to whisper his name. He's like, no, he's like, because that's going to break the game. That's going to break, knowing too much about each other means we can't keep on doing this. And that's what the Joker lives for. And like Batman even said, like he went to Arkham one time as Bruce Wayne and found the Joker and held up the playing card, says, you left this at my cave. And he's like, the Joker, he looked at me, but he didn't see me because he can't allow himself to know who I am or let me know who he is, because that would just break the spell. And was it Batman 150 or something like that he did find the name of the Joker? Like there was like this mystical artifact that he put on to give him like the powers of a god, and they were announced like Justice League 150, I think.
Or it would have been like Justice League 50. It was when Batman had the powers of Metron from the New Gods.
Yeah,
but that's also when he first saw that there were 3 Jokers.
Oh, so he only found what one of them was?
They never told us.
Oh, they didn't tell us? Okay. I thought that... Because that was the big thing they were pushing to get everyone to buy it, was that, he's going to find the Joker's name, but...
He might have... I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read it.
Yeah, actually, it says, what's the Joker's true name? His eyes light up, and he's like, no, that's not possible. And that's about all they do with it. He didn't give him a name.
Okay.
It said there were 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which we're getting... from DC Black Label next year. I can't remember how many issues it's going to be. But it's going to be the Black Label like Batman Damned,
Or the White Knight.
Or White Knight. I think it's just called Batman the Three Jokers. It's from Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok, I think.
Well, while you're looking it up, after discussion do you have anything else you want to bring up, or do you want to jump into cocktails?
We've kind of talked about everything. I mean, we've dug pretty deep in the book, and again, if you are, especially if you're a Joker fan, this is like one of the best stories you could read because, as we said, it really dives into his psyche and what makes the feud between him and Batman last and exist. So,
cocktails.
Mine is called Laugh a Minute, which this book is definitely not Laugh a Minute. But
what are you talking about? It's hilarious.
The Joker.
There's so many jokes in it.
Not very funny ones. So it is 1 ounce of cherry vodka, 1 ounce of Rosso vermouth, half ounce of amaretto almond liqueur, and 2 ounces of lemonade. You're going to shake all the alcohol together and strain it into an old-fashioned glass half filled with broken ice, and then you add the lemonade and serve. Mr. Maya, what is your cocktail?
My cocktail is called the Joker. So before you make the drink you're going to make, this is another infused vodka drink. You're going to make grape Jolly Rancher infused vodka. Basically, you're going to take 10 to 12 purple Jolly Ranchers, put them in a sealable jar or a bottle, add 1.5 cups of vodka, seal it, shake it, and let it sit overnight or until the candy fully dissolves when you shake the bottle. Chill it until you're ready to use it. And then you're going to take 3 ounces of that, 1/4 ounce of lime juice, and put it in a Collins glass with ice, stir it, and then fill it with seltzer, and then garnish with a lime slice.
That's beautifully simple and interesting. I want to try that.
The picture that I found is delicious looking.
I'm sure it is. The problem is there's a lot of sugar in that, and I can't have that on my diet, god damn it. Mr. Adam, would you like to give us your cocktail, which was the inspiration for me adding in a 4th song to our playlist?
Exactly. So mine's called, I think you just go with Drive Me Crazy, because that's kind of fun. You take a glass filled with ice, you add 1 ounce of light rum, 1 ounce of coconut rum, 1 ounce of banana liqueur, 1 ounce of cranberry juice, 1 ounce of pineapple juice, and you stir. And that's about it.
Okay.
Final grades.
So we'll jump into final grades. We will start out with self-contained. Even though this is part of an ongoing series, how self-contained is that? I will actually give this pretty high marks on that. I'm going to say I'll actually give it an A for self-contained because I mean, it's been a while since I've read all this stuff, but I pulled this back off my shelf and I didn't have to remember a whole ton. I think all the information you need is in there from the beginning, and I think that it has a good ending on its own, so that's my personal opinion. Mr. Maya, what's your grade for self-contained?
I'm going to give it an A as well. It does reference... I mean, the things that you need to know, it does reference, so like you don't need to have read anything else to get it. I was going to say it does talk about, the Joker cutting his face off, or letting the doll maker cut his face off, and it, briefly mentions the Court of Owls, because Batman had just finished dealing with them. But yeah, you really don't need to know anything else.
Yeah. Cool. And Mr. Adam?
I'll do an A as well. I mean, yes, of course, it helps to know Batman's history, and if you would have read the previous stuff Scott Snyder was doing, that's really great too. But this has one big story arc, and then sets things up for like I said, Batman kind of being alone for a while after all this. So it's definitely just one good story.
Okay.
Writing grade.
Cool. For Scott Snyder for writing, what is your grade, Mr. Adam?
I'll go with an A as well. I mean, this just shows the Joker's personality and his psychosis better than I think I've ever seen it. And it's truly horrifying, scary, and as I said, like the scene with the tapestry, once I finally realized what was happening, it freaked the fuck out of me. So very few comics are able to do that, even when we do the horror ones. I mean, this one is definitely scarier than most stuff we did in October. So really good job for Scott Snyder.
Cool. I'm going to go with actually an A- just because I felt like there were some very talky, wordy scenes that weren't completely necessary. I kind of wish they would have moved on just a little bit with them. But I think the overall plot and what goes on in the story, I think, is quite disturbing. It's just there's a few things that it got a little wordy and got a little bit bogged down. It felt like trudging through a few scenes. Mr. Maya?
I'm going to give it an A as well. This is one of my favorite Batman stories, at least of recent memory. And I'm going to go with an A.
Okay.
Art grade.
For Greg Capullo, I think that's the main one. And Jonathan, Glapion? I'm assuming he does art. I just know his name's on the front cover.
I believe he's the colorist.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, that makes sense.
He did the backups that James Tynion wrote.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So like the Joker and Harley and Joker and Riddler, Joker and Penguin.
Okay.
Those stories.
Okay, cool. But so for art, what is your grade, Mr. Maya?
Also an A. Capullo and Glapion. I apologize if we're mispronouncing that. I think they knocked it out of the park.
I will also sit with an A. I think this is really good, really creepy, really great Batman art. And then Mr. Adam.
But go with an A as well. I mean, the visuals in this are just as important as the story, and it's graphic, it's gross, but never goes to the point where it's way over the top. It's almost like watching an episode of Hannibal, where you can't look away even though you want to, but it's just beautifully well done. So
final grades.
And then, so for final overall grades, what is your grade, Mr. Adam?
I'll go with an A. I mean, like I said, the first time I read this back in single issues, I didn't really like the ending too much. I thought it was anticlimactic, but this is definitely one you'd want to read as a graphic novel, as one whole story. I mean, sit down and read it from start to finish. Don't take breaks. You really kind of need to follow along. And it's terrifying. It's grotesque, but also one of the best Batman stories I've ever read. So,
okay, and Mr. Maya.
I'm right there with an A. There isn't really too much more I can say why that I haven't already said.
Okay. I'm actually going to give it an A- just because I felt like there were some moments in there that were trudgy for me. Going back and rereading it, more from the writing aspect, for the art aspect, but overall I liked it.
Grade point average.
That gives us our overall GPA of a 3.9, so just barely below an A. I'm sorry I ruined the grade point average for everybody.
Shame.
I know, that's how it goes.
Next week on Funny Books on Firewater.
Next week? What are we doing next week?
Is it Lumberjanes?
I think we are. Let me double check that. So next month, we, in honor of Todd's little girl being born, we are doing a collection of books of girls who kick ass for Todd's little girl to be born. So we're doing that. So we are going to start out the month with Lumberjanes, which is a recent find of mine that I'm absolutely in love with, and I will preview that in just a second. We're also doing Rat Queens, which I believe is a recommendation from Todd. We're going to do the first collection of Captain Marvel by Kelly Sue DeConnick. And the fourth one, we're going to be doing Gwenpool, which is a fun, newer book that I've also discovered as well. So Lumberjanes, this is actually a Christmas present I'm giving to my nieces as well. I love this book. It's about a Girl Scout camp where there are a bunch of weird creatures in the woods, and these girls are sort of like brave and go off and find these things and, you know, figure out what's going on with these different demons and monsters in the woods and whatnot, while all their camp counselors are back at camp terrified. And they're just a fun variety of characters. It's just a really fun book. Like I enjoy the hell of it. It's not super deep. It might change the world in a weird little way, but it's just a fun book. So I'm excited for everybody else to get a chance to read that.
Recommendations.
If you like Joker stories, I'm going to recommend a single issue for you. It's on Comixology for $2, or it's also in a collection. I'll tell you which one in a second. But Batman number 663 was a Grant. It was the first issue Grant Morrison did right just after he did his first arc, the Batman and Son. It's an entirely prose issue of Batman. It was released, like a normal comic book form, but it's a prose issue, and it's a really cool Joker story. And it is in the Batman and Son trade paperback, which includes a lot of stuff in it, which is actually super cheap on in-stock trades right now.
Okay.
It's like $12.
And Mr. Adam.
Yeah, so I definitely do. So I mentioned at the beginning, or towards the beginning of the episode, I would do a quick review of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So when this comes out, it should be in theaters for a week or two. They showed it to us 2 weeks in advance, and they're showing it again this weekend. I'm taking Maya.
Nice.
So I'm going to see it. So Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is an animated film. It's the first to portray on the big screen Miles Morales as Spider-Man. So this was in Ultimate Spider-Man. This was produced by Brian Michael Bendis, and it's firmly set in the Ultimate Universe because you've got like the Dragon Green Goblin. I guess everyone already kind of knows. Like, well, I won't spoil anything because it's half the fun seeing it. But something happens where Miles Morales gets bit by the spider, starts developing powers, and then somehow, some way, due to stuff that Kingpin is doing, these dimensions collide, and all of a sudden you've got other Spider-Men in the world. So you've got kind of older, washed-up Spider-Man, you've got Spider-Man Noir, you've got Spider-Ham, all working with him to train him so he can go eventually defeat the Kingpin. So this is the best comic book movie ever made. The cinematography, the way they set it up, is like it's like you're watching a comic come to life on screen. So, you know, like almost like the bang pows you got from like the Batman 66 are in it. You've got the way it transitions between scenes, and the way it's animated feels exactly like a comic book. I'm going to go on a limb here and say this is also the best Spider-Man movie they've ever made. It's irreverent. It takes advantage of the fact that we've had some not so great Spider-Man movies. This does take place in a universe that accepts that Spider-Man 3 happened, and they make fun of it. And it's just beautiful and perfect and amazing, and I can't wait to go see it again. It's funny because I'm a member, like I said before, of the Utah Film Critic Association, so we're talking about doing nominations and awards for movies. And so right before we walked in, one of the other critics was like, hey, so for Best Animated Movie, make sure you watch this film. And we all got out and we're like, there's no need to watch any other movies. This is easily going to win Best Animated Film. And I could easily see it at least getting nominated at the Oscars and possibly taking it. Because
really?
It's perfectly done. There is an after credit scene. It's hilarious. Half people got up and walked out. I'm like, have you never been to a superhero movie? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's nearly flawless. It's 2 hours long. Doesn't feel it. It flies by. It's hilarious. It's heartfelt. There's some great stuff with family in there, especially because we have Mahershala Ali playing the voice of Miles Morales' uncle, who we all know is the Prowler.
Mm-hmm.
Lily Tomlin is May Parker. Haley Steinfeld is Gwen Stacy. It's just a lot of fun, and this is something that your kids are going to love. I think it'll get a whole new bunch of people excited for this, and it's amazing. I can't wait to go see it again. Out of 10, I'm like at a 9.5.
Jesus,
this is easily one of the best things I've seen all year, and I'll be throwing it up for best animated and best cinematography, because there's a scene I'm sure we all saw from the trailer where Spider-Man jumps off a building and he's falling down, but they shoot it to make it look like he's flying up. And it's like just a 1 second shot, but it's just one of probably 50 scenes in this movie that I want to like freeze frame, print up on like a poster, and like mount on my wall, because it's just a gorgeous movie. So go see it. If you've already seen it, take your friends. Go see it again. It's fantastic. And John Mulaney as Spider-Ham is one of the greatest things in the world.
I figures it'd be John Mulaney. That's actually pretty awesome voice casting.
And then Nick Cage is Spider-Man Noir, and he's kind of doing like a Nick Offerman impersonation. So at first I thought it was Nick Offerman, but then it's like, oh, that's Nicolas Cage. So I can't say enough good things about this. Go see it.
That's pretty awesome. Have I recommended Giant Days on this show yet?
Well, if you have, you can always do it again.
Well, I'm going to recommend it again because it's what I've been recently addicted to. Giant Days is from Boom Studios. It's from Boombox. They're sort of their indie line, I guess, for lack of a better term, even though they are an independent comic book publisher. But
Boombox is more of their like teenage line.
Okay, well, so it's from the teenage line.
They have Kaboom, which is their kids line. Boombox, which is kind of their teen line, and then just regular Boom.
Okay, so this is from Boombox, which would probably be a little bit of their older teens, I would say. I mean, it depends, but like my niece is almost a teenager, and she's a little younger to read this, but she's also a little naive. But it's about 3 girls in their first year of college. It's set in England, so it has a little bit of a British tint to it, but not a ton. And it's just about those weird things of life as a new college student and going through, like, first being out of your parents' house and first living alone and all sorts of stuff. There's one scene that I just read in volume 3 that I loved, where it's this girl who stays up so long doing homework and stuff like that, she starts to have weird delusions and starts to kind of lose it, and ends up running into this strange cult of people who worship the nighttime and stuff like that. It's bizarre and funny and really heartfelt, and it's like the characters are they feel very real. You really like them. You want them to do well, but they're all 3 kind of very different kind of women, and it's just I really enjoy the hell out of this book. So I bought the 3rd trade already. I'm probably going to buy more trades on In-Stock Trades here as soon as we get off the show, because I
thought you were buying anymore.
I deleted everything off of that one order that I had while we were sitting here doing the show, because I'm trying to be better.
Hey, if you don't have Batman and Son, you should add that on while you're.
I already have that, yeah. So there's that. So Anyway, so I think that'll do it for this week, I guess. Anybody else have anything else?
Nope, I think that's it.
Cool. Awesome. Congratulations, Todd and Amy, because by the time this comes out, you will definitely have a kid, hopefully. Otherwise, that is the longest delivery and process, because we're recording this several weeks in advance, so for the love of God, I hope you have the kid by then. Anyway, and hopefully Todd will be back next week. If not, we'll give him some paternity leave off the show. We're not going to hold that over his head too long.
Yes, we are.
Adam will, but
I will too.
Anyway.
Well, we're also a month out now, so he's got some time.
He's got a little bit of time, yeah, for sure. And then coming up in January, not January, I guess will probably end up being stuff for February. We'll probably have a few live episodes because I'm going to go out and visit the V one, and I'll visit the other ones as well. That would be you and Maya, Adam. So you're the other ones.
Yeah, the other ones.
Yeah, the other ones. I'll see the V ones and the other ones, and it will be lovely. Yeah. That was for you, William. Have a drink. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
So that happened. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. This band of knuckleheads will be back next week with a new episode. Until then, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr as Funny Books and Firewater, and on Twitter as @FirewaterCast. Go to funnybooksandfirewater.com for the most up-to-date information, as well as cocktail recipes from this and past episodes. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, support your local comic shop, tip your bartender well, and stay hydrated.